what are the key differences between buying a home in Hawaii compared to the mainland?
That's a really good question. There's a ton. I mean, just starting from the simple fact that our construction here is often in the past has been different. I mean, nowadays we're all working on the same international building codes that across the country, but the older buildings, we have a lot of single wall construction, which people aren't familiar with. And in doing so, there's a construction component from the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s a little bit that's different than the mainland. And so the types of homes that you may be looking to purchase will be different. Also, our land size here, I mean, we're islands out in the middle of the Pacific. So you're talking about our land size is typically smaller. We're more, especially on Oahu, we're much more of a vertical location, meaning condo high rises and townhomes. So 65% of our housing inventory is either in the form of a high rise condo or a townhouse. So we have limited land. Our lots tend to be smaller, so you're closer to your neighbors. That's one thing to get used to. For condos, our maintenance fees typically are much higher than they are on the mainland. So that's one thing to be aware of and kind of factor in. And then we are a title and escrow state. We're not an attorney state. So attorneys don't get involved. We write the purchase contracts. We structure them. Your earnest money deposit goes to an escrow company and is held. When we go to sign and close, you're signing either, with a notary or with the escrow officer who's a notary. And then we close. And then one of the biggest things that's interesting, because it's super anticlimactic, we get towards that closing time frame. You fund basically 3 days, 2 days prior to closing. Escrow, the lender, they make sure all the docs are together, all the funds are in. Then the day before closing, so you've signed already. You usually sign 3 or 4 days prior to closing, both parties. They're not together. They're separate. You can be anywhere. We even do remote online notaries now where you can be online and sign, which is great. And then once all the funds are in, the next day it goes down to the Bureau of Conveyances, all those documents, and it sits there for a day and it does nothing. And then the next morning, the Bureau records it down at the Bureau of Conveyances. They give the escrow company the info. The escrow company calls us, says, we're closed. And then we call our clients, and the clients are like, that's it? And I'm like, yeah, you did all the work like 3 days prior. And it's this anticlimactic ending that most people aren't aware of how the process works. It's different on the mainland.
Yeah, and over the years, we've both seen that, and people say, oh, hey, we signed, we're closed. Can we get the keys? No, you have to wait till it records with the Bureau of Conveyances, which again transfers title or ownership to the property. Anyways, as we both know, it can be it's one of those small things, but it's a big one that gets misunderstood.
And there's some interesting components to it that a lot of realtors don't think about. But so imagine you sign and fund on a Friday. You put your money in, the lender puts their money into escrow. All the funds are in. We're set to close from a loan amount standpoint. But then we have Saturday and Sunday, and then you have Monday that we got to make sure all the docs are together. They go down to the Bureau of Conveyances for us to record on Tuesday. Well, little does the buyer know they're paying interest on that money that got funded on Friday for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and you don't even own the property yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember because you've been in the industry how many years?
1992, I got my license. So,
oh wow,
do the math. I guess 32 years.
Yeah, 11 years more than me.
30 years. Yeah.
Do you remember when we used to have the ability to do simultaneous closings, or you funded and everything came together and we could do like special recordings the next day? And before the Bureau,
Scott, I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So. No, I mean, I remember the old MLS machines that didn't show any pictures. I remember a lot of that stuff. But yeah, it's changed. And a lot of it's certainly changed for the better. But it also is a system where There's multiple people involved in closing that property. The title and escrow, the attorneys are in the background. They may write up the deed, those types of things. So it's not that they're not involved, but they're not involved in the way they are in some other states. But in the end, all of those entities, the realtors, the buyer and seller, the title company, their all goal is to get that property closed. So you've got a lot of people helping you to reach your goal as a seller and your goal as a buyer. And that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting transactions are the ones where someone has to sell. We're doing what we call a sell buy. You're selling and then buying. And so you get into escrow on the home you're selling, and you get into the escrow on the home that you're buying, contingent on this one selling. And so what's interesting with how the Bureau is set up is once the one you're selling closes, you have to wait like 2 or 3 days for the other one to close. You can't close back to back. And if you have 2 different escrow companies handling it, you close on this one. Now all those funds have to be transferred to the other escrow company, which delays you even another day. And so even if you're doing sell buy, you've got a gap now that you have to get out of your house a couple of days prior to it closing. It closes, then you still got a couple of day gap before your buy side closes. So you're talking almost a week that you have to figure out some kind of housing component, whether it's a rent back or you move out and go hang out at the hotel for a week to kind of pass time, or something else.
Yeah, well, that's definitely in Hawaii. And sometimes you're not buying here. You might be buying on the mainland, like moving away from Hawaii, or selling on the mainland and moving to Hawaii. So it's just one of those things.